Welcome to our channel. Hey there. Have you ever left a conversation wondering if you might have come off a little rude, even though you didn't mean to? Sometimes, we overlook small habits that can make a big impact on how others perceive us. Today, I'm going to walk you through 10 subtle signs of rudeness that often fly under the radar but can be red flags in our interactions. Let's dive in. First up, let's talk about eye rolling or sighing. These might seem like harmless reactions, but they can communicate a lot more than you intend. When you roll your eyes or let out a sigh, it signals impatience or frustration. It's like telling the other person, "I don't value what you're saying," without actually using words. The truth is, these subtle gestures can really hurt someone's feelings, especially if they're sharing something important. Next time you catch yourself doing this, take a moment to pause and really listen. Even if you disagree or feel frustrated, try to express it respectfully. You'd be surprised how much more positive your interactions can be when you avoid these small but impactful gestures. We all love to share our thoughts, but there's a fine line between contributing to a conversation and completely dominating it. If you find yourself doing most of the talking, it might be a sign that you're not giving others enough space to express their opinions. It's easy to overlook this, especially if you're passionate about the topic, but constantly steering the conversation back to yourself can make others feel undervalued. Here's a tip. Try the 2-minute rule. Speak your mind, but then make sure to pause and invite others to share. Ask open-ended questions like, "What do you think?" or "How do you feel about this?" It shows you're interested in their perspective, and it can make conversations more balanced and engaging. We live in a world where our phones are practically glued to our hands, but constantly checking your phone during a conversation can be a major turnoff. It's like telling the other person, "You're not as important as what's happening on my screen." Even if it's just a quick glance, it can break the connection and make the other person feel ignored. Try to be fully present when you're with someone. Put your phone away, or at least turn it face down. This small gesture can make a huge difference in how engaged and valued the other person feels. Next, let's talk about dismissive language. Phrases like, "whatever," "it doesn't matter," or "calm down" might seem harmless, but they can actually be quite damaging. When you use dismissive language, you're essentially telling the other person that their feelings or opinions don't matter. It can come off as condescending, even if you didn't intend it that way. Instead of brushing off someone's concerns, try acknowledging them. For example, if someone's upset, instead of saying, "calm down," try saying, "I can see you're upset, let's talk about it." It shows empathy and respect, which goes a long way in maintaining healthy relationships. Humor is a great way to lighten the mood, but it can sometimes be a double-edged sword. Have you ever made a cutting remark and then said, "just kidding," afterward? While you might think it's all in good fun, these types of comments can actually hurt, especially if they touch on sensitive topics. The "just kidding" part doesn't erase the initial sting. Before making a joke at someone's expense, ask yourself if it's really necessary. Humor should bring people together, not push them apart. If you realize you've crossed a line, don't be afraid to apologize and clarify that you didn't mean to offend. Personal space is something we often take for granted, but not respecting it can make others feel incredibly uncomfortable. Whether it's standing too close, touching someone without their consent, or hovering over their shoulder, these actions can be perceived as invasive. Always be mindful of others' boundaries. A good rule of thumb is to keep a comfortable distance, especially with people you don't know well. If you're not sure, just ask. Most people will appreciate that you're considerate of their space. Eye contact is a powerful form of nonverbal communication. When you avoid making eye contact, it can signal disinterest, discomfort, or even dishonesty. On the other hand, maintaining appropriate eye contact can help build trust and show that you're engaged in the conversation. If you struggle with eye contact, start by making brief, natural glances. You don't need to stare. Just look at the person while they're speaking and nod occasionally to show you're listening. It can make a world of difference in how your interactions are perceived. It's the little things that often make the biggest impact. Small courtesies like holding the door open, saying, "Excuse me," or simply greeting people with a smile are easy to overlook but are essential for showing respect and kindness. Neglecting these courtesies can make you appear rude or inconsiderate, even if that's not your intention. Next time you're out and about, take a moment to practice these small gestures. They may seem minor, but they go a long way in creating a positive impression and making others feel appreciated. Sarcasm can be funny, but too much of it can backfire, especially if it's directed at someone repeatedly. What you see as playful banter might come across as mocking or even bullying. If the other person isn't in on the joke, they might end up feeling belittled. Use sarcasm sparingly and be mindful of the context. If you're not sure how your humor is being received, pay attention to the other person's reactions. And remember, humor should never be used as a weapon. It's meant to bring joy, not pain. We all have our own worries and concerns, but dismissing someone else's can be a major red flag in your interactions. Phrases like, "You're overreacting," or "It's not a big deal," might seem like a way to downplay a situation, but they can make the other person feel invalidated and unheard. Instead of brushing off someone's feelings, try to understand where they're coming from. Acknowledge their emotions and offer support. Sometimes, just listening can make a huge difference in how valued they feel. Rudeness isn't always about saying the wrong thing, it's often about the small, overlooked actions that can build up over time. By being mindful of these subtle signs, you can improve your interactions.